I think what you're going to hear today is one of the most impressive stories in America when it comes to financial services. Even the Federal Reserve itself, in one of its recent financial publications, saying that America is misallocating up to $2.5 billion or more worth of its assets by not understanding the power of the mortgage. So Matthew's going to go over some kind of new thoughts on an old tool tonight. I've come to respect him quite a bit. I want to tell you a little bit about this pretty remarkable man. Matthew's a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. He served, yeah, absolutely. I told him I saw the movie The Guardian the other day, and I was kind of jazzed about being like jumping out of the helicopter, and he says, you know what I'm saying, those punks in the Coast Guard, they're wearing bins. We did it in our boots. Marines, right? He's a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. He served in Desert Storm 1 and Operation Restore Hope in Somalia, Africa. You've seen the movie Black Hawk Down? Matthew was a crew chief, helicopter crew chief and gunner on one of those same helicopters that they showed in the movie. He's a serious man, and he has served our country remarkably well. He's featured in 2007 Who's Who in Black Chicago. Ask him about that later. That's all I'll say. He's a national speaker to both consumers and professionals in the financial services industry, and he's been an ongoing money smart partner, and as I said, one of the dearest friends that I have on this planet. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please put your hands together and welcome this man, Matthew Sapaula.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
All right. Guys ready to have a good time?
Yes.
All right. One of the things that I learned early on in the Marine Corps, I'm going to share with you this story, which meant a lot to me. It was a story about everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. Has anybody ever heard that story? Now, let me set this up real quick. I was yesterday at the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago kickoff meeting. And has anybody ever seen the movie Pursuit of Happiness? Chris Gardner? It's an awesome movie. And Chris Gardner was sharing with me, he says, you know, Matthew, one things we have to do as Americans, notice it says American and not Americans, right? And I was laughing with one of my best friends. Are you Puerto Rican or are you Puerto Ricans? And my other guys, are you Mexican or are you Mexican? I couldn't figure anything out for my Polish friend, but we're around. But everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. And I learned this at 17 years old in boot camp because they were teaching me a lesson in self-responsibility. That's what Chris Gardner shared with me, is a lesson in self-responsibility. Yes, we're going through a recession. I'll say it. We're going through a recession. We're having some hard times. The economy is, from what we see, is recovering and somewhat fairly strong. But we're going through some very difficult times. Anybody agree with me? Credit crunch. Just last week, Citibank and another Bank of America shut down student loans. So these kids are having a hard time right now qualifying and getting the money to go to college. As you and I know, that college nowadays is a new high school diploma. There's another article with U.S. News that says that there's an uneasiness in the middle, which means that, as the editor of U.S. News wants to go say, it says today's college graduate is facing the same difficult times as high school diplomas, people who graduated high school diplomas in the 60s and the 70s. Tough times. And I'm going to talk about a couple things here towards the end about how you can take self-responsibility. So everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody, there was an important job to be done. And everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought anybody could do it, but nobody would realize that everybody wouldn't do it. It ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. I share that with you because one of the quotes I live by says that you can make money or you can make excuses, but you can't do both. So it's choice, Americans. It's choice of whether we go ahead and deal with this economy or find strategies that'll get us to the next level. Now, we're facing some uncertain times here. We're facing challenges that no generation has ever experienced. The decline of pension. By the way, there was 165 pensions back in the 70s and 80s. Today, there's less than 65,000 companies with pension plans. What is that telling you? What's that indicating? Pensions are going away. Social Security. Is it security anymore? Social lack of security. So what do we have left? The normal traditional three-legged fruit stool of financial security is gone. And we're left with one leg, feel like the Karate Kid, right? And that's personal savings. Personal responsibility. Okay? Now, many people today, how many of you consider your home your greatest asset? Any hands out there? Just a couple? You know, I grew up in a neighborhood. My parents are here. And I grew up, I'm going to talk about your mom and dad. And I'm glad I grew up in that home. But what they talk to me about finances right here, kitchen table. Okay, nowadays these kids will learn about finances in the driveway because a friend has driving the parents' brand new BMW. There's a sense of entitlement in America today, which I don't personally agree with because I grew up, let me share you a couple stories here. I grew up here, this is my lineal home. This is my mom's house back in the Philippines. Don't let the suit fool you. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. I grew up in this home. My mom graduated, grew up here in this home, and you notice that at the age of 13, my mother found herself being raised in a single-family home. I don't have a picture, but my father too found himself after World War II. The mother passed away. My grandmother passed away. He himself also found himself growing up in a single-family home, which is what's happening today in America. 60% of minority families today do not have a father in the home. Devastating fact. Yeah, money is important, and we're going to talk later about that. Money is not just a logical thing, it's an emotional thing. People would rather talk to me about politics and religion before they would talk to me about their personal finances. So as my parents matriculated over here and immigrated to the United States, they shared with me some awesome stories, and one of the things that we grew up with was rice, eggs, and my favorite, Spam. Till this day, and we laugh at my parents, till this day, you ask my son, I had a hard time detaching away from Spam, because to this day, on Sunday morning, that's my favorite breakfast, Sunday morning breakfast, right? And kids, you just all wake up, you wake up late and just throwing things around. My favorite breakfast is Spam. My kid, well, turkey Spam now. You know, the 60% light, salt-free Spam. But that was my lesson in family values. That was my lesson of what it meant to be here in America, of understanding finances and starting family values. And as I served in the military, I faced too warfare on the home front. Forget the battlefront. I faced warfare on the home front because I was an ill-prepared husband. Sorry, I got divorced too. And I share this story not to gloat about my divorce, but I'm sharing with you that I've been through some of these experiences, and I'm not just sharing with you about money because I grew up with it. I had to dig down deep and figure out and have that self-belief that I can make it. And maybe Uncle Sam, with everybody, somebody, and anybody, and nobody, matriculated and brought itself through my process. So I want to speak a word of encouragement to you all as we're going through these troubling times. If you're a budding entrepreneur, if you're a strong entrepreneur, continue to march, because you're creating jobs out there and you're taking charge of your finances.